The perfect evening. Elena Martinez stood before the full-length mirror in her luxury apartment, smoothing down the elegant emerald dress that hugged her curves perfectly. Tonight was supposed to be the happiest night of her life. After 5 years of dating, Marcus Sterling was finally throwing her the engagement party she had dreamed about since childhood. The venue was the Grand Celestial Hotel, the most expensive place in the city, and everyone who mattered would be there. "You look absolutely stunning," her best friend Victoria said, walking into the bedroom with 2 glasses of champagne. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves around her shoulders, and her smile seemed genuine as always. "Marcus is going to lose his mind when he sees you." Elena accepted the glass, clinking it against Victoria's. "I still can't believe this is happening. 5 years, Vicky. 5 years of working toward this moment. You deserve every bit of happiness," Victoria replied, though something flickered in her eyes that Elena was too excited to notice. "Come on, the car is waiting downstairs. We don't want to be late to your own party." The Grand Celestial Hotel sparkled like a jewel box when they arrived. Crystal chandeliers hung from impossibly high ceilings, and the ballroom had been transformed into an elegant garden with white roses and twinkling lights everywhere. Elena's heart swelled with joy as she saw familiar faces, colleagues from the architectural firm where she worked, friends from college, and family members who had traveled from different states to celebrate with her. But Marcus wasn't in the ballroom. ## the discovery. "He texted me," Victoria said, checking her phone with a slight frown. "He says he's upstairs in the penthouse suite, finalizing some surprise for you. He wants you to come up." Elena's heart raced with excitement. Marcus was always good with surprises. Last year, he had rented an entire rooftop to propose to her under the stars. She grabbed her clutch and headed toward the elevators, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The penthouse suite was on the top floor. As the elevator rose, Elena imagined what surprise awaited her. Maybe a special gift, or perhaps he had arranged for her parents to give a speech. Whatever it was, she knew Marcus had put his heart into it. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. The hallway was quiet, almost too quiet for a hotel hosting such a large event. Elena walked toward the penthouse door, which was slightly open. She could hear voices inside, low and intimate. "We've been planning this for months," a male voice said. Marcus's voice. "After tonight, everything changes." "I know," a female voice responded. A voice Elena knew better than her own. Victoria's voice. "I just hope she doesn't suspect anything before we're ready." Elena's hand froze on the door handle. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what she was hearing. Planning what for months? Why would Victoria be alone with Marcus before the party? She pushed the door open slowly, and the sight before her shattered every dream she had ever held. Marcus and Victoria stood by the window, wrapped in each other's arms, kissing with the kind of passion that spoke of familiarity and deep connection. Marcus's hands tangled in Victoria's blonde hair. Victoria's arms wrapped around his neck. They were so lost in each other that they didn't hear Elena enter. "What is this?" Elena's voice came out as a whisper, but it was enough to make them jump apart. Marcus's face went pale. Victoria's expression shifted from shock to something Elena couldn't quite read. Guilt? Satisfaction? A mix of both? "Elena," Marcus started, running his hand through his dark hair. "This isn't what it looks like." A laugh burst from Elena's throat, sharp and painful. "Really? Because it looks like my fiancé is kissing my best friend in a hotel room, while 200 people wait downstairs to celebrate our engagement. ## the cruel truth." Victoria stepped forward, and for the first time in their 10-year friendship, Elena saw the real person behind the mask. "Actually, Elena, it's exactly what it looks like. Marcus and I have been together for almost a year now." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. "A year? I wanted to tell you sooner," Marcus said, and he actually had the nerve to look uncomfortable. "But there were complications. Business complications." "Business complications?" Elena repeated, her voice rising. "What are you talking about?" Victoria walked to the desk and picked up a folder, holding it out to Elena. "Your architectural designs for the Continental Tower project. The ones you've been working on for the past 8 months. The ones worth millions of dollars." Elena's blood ran cold. How do you know about those? Those designs are confidential. They're locked in my office safe. We're locked in your safe, Marcus corrected, his voice taking on a harder edge. I submitted them to the Continental Development Corporation 3 weeks ago. Under my name. The room spun. Elena grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. You stole my designs? Borrowed, Victoria said with a smile that was pure poison. And improved them, of course. Marcus added some touches that made them even better. The corporation loved them. They're paying him $5 million, and he's been named lead architect for the project. Elena looked at Marcus, searching for any sign of the man she thought she loved. Why? I would have shared everything with you. We were getting married. Were we? Marcus laughed. Elena, you're sweet and talented, but you're not exactly sterling family material. My father made that very clear. He needed those designs to save our company from bankruptcy, and he needed them to come from a sterling, not from some girl who grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in the poor part of town. Each word was a knife to Elena's heart. So all of it was a lie? The proposal, the relationship, everything. Not all of it, Marcus said, and he actually sounded sincere. I did care about you, Elena. You're a good person. But business is business and family is family. You understand. ## the trap closes. And what about you? Elena turned to Victoria, tears streaming down her face. 10 years of friendship. I was there when your mother died. I helped you through college. I trusted you with everything. Victoria's expression didn't change. And I used every bit of that trust to get what I wanted. Marcus, success, and a way out of being the poor friend who always lived in your shadow. Victoria helped me get access to your office, Marcus explained, as if discussing the weather. She made copies of your safe keys months ago. She also helped me understand your work schedule, your passwords, and your backup systems. It was actually quite easy once we started working together. Elena's legs gave out, and she sank into the chair. The engagement party. Why throw a party if you were just going to destroy me? Insurance, Victoria said. Everyone downstairs thinks you're a happy bride-to-be. When Marcus breaks off the engagement tomorrow and announces his new relationship with me, plus his amazing new architectural contract, you'll just look like a jilted woman making up stories for revenge. Who would believe that successful Marcus Sterling stole designs from his ex-girlfriend? And your firm, Marcus added, checking his watch casually. They've already received an anonymous tip about you leaking confidential designs. By Monday morning you'll be fired. The Continental Corporation is also preparing to sue you for attempting to steal credit for Marcus Sterling's brilliant work. My father's lawyers are very good. Elena's mind raced. This wasn't just betrayal. This was calculated destruction. Why go this far? Why not just break up with me? Because you're too talented, Victoria said simply. Marcus's father did research. You're the best architectural mind of our generation. If you stayed in the industry, you'd always be competition. This way, your reputation is destroyed, you'll never work in architecture again, and Marcus gets to be the hero with your stolen designs. ## the fall. The next 72 hours were a nightmare Elena couldn't wake up from. Marcus broke off the engagement in front of all the party guests, claiming he had discovered Elena was unstable and making false accusations. Victoria stood by his side, playing the supportive friend who was just trying to help them both through this difficult time. By Monday morning, Elena's firm had not only fired her but threatened legal action if she spoke about the false claims she was making. The Continental Corporation filed a lawsuit accusing her of corporate espionage. Marcus's father hired the best lawyers in the state, and they painted Elena as an obsessed ex-girlfriend trying to steal credit for work she couldn't possibly have done alone. The evidence was overwhelming, or at least it seemed that way. Marcus had somehow backdated documents showing he had been working on the Continental Tower designs for over a year. Elena's computer files had been altered to show she had stolen partial designs from the firm's shared database. Her emails had been hacked and carefully selected messages made public, all taken out of context to make her look incompetent and dishonest. Within 2 weeks, Elena lost her job, her savings to legal fees, and her apartment. Her parents, conservative people who valued reputation above all else, refused to help her after the scandal made local news. Friends disappeared overnight, not wanting to be associated with someone accused of corporate theft. Elena found herself living in a tiny studio apartment in the worst part of the city, working 3 minimum wage jobs just to afford rent and cheap food. Her degree in architecture from a top university gathered dust on the floor because she couldn't even afford a frame. Every firm in the city knew her name, and none of them would hire her. ## the meeting that changed everything. 3 months after her world collapsed, Elena sat in a small coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. She was exhausted from her night shift at a convenience store and her morning shift at a fast food restaurant. In 2 hours, she had to be at her cleaning job at an office building. She was nursing a single cup of black coffee, the cheapest thing on the menu, when a man sat down across from her. "Elena Martinez," he said, not as a question but as a statement. She looked up, too tired to be surprised. The man was in his mid-30s with dark hair, sharp gray eyes, and an expensive suit that probably cost more than she made in 6 months. "Do I know you?" "No, but I know you," he replied, sliding a business card across the table. "My name is Damian Cross. I'm an investor, and I'm very interested in your situation." Elena glanced at the card without picking it up. "If you're here to offer me money for an interview about my scandal, you can leave. I'm not interested." "I'm not a reporter," Damian said calmly. "I'm someone who knows exactly what Marcus Sterling and his family did to you, and I'm someone who wants to help you destroy them." For the first time in months, Elena felt something other than despair. She felt a spark of interest. "Why would you want to help me?" Damian's smile was cold. "Because Marcus's father, Richard Sterling, destroyed my family 15 years ago. He stole my father's business, ruined his reputation, and drove him to suicide. I've spent the last decade building my fortune with one goal in mind: revenge. And you, Elena Martinez, are the perfect weapon to help me achieve it." Elena stared at this stranger who was offering her exactly what her broken heart craved. "What's your plan?" "I give you money, resources, training, and a new identity," Damian explained. "You transform yourself, build a company that will rival Sterling Enterprises, and slowly take everything from them. Their contracts, their reputation, their pride. And in the process, you get your revenge on Marcus and Victoria too. Why should I trust you?" "Because we both want the same thing," Damian said simply. "And because right now, I'm the only person in this entire city who's offering you a way out of this hell." Elena looked down at her hands, rough and damaged from months of manual labor. She thought about Marcus and Victoria, probably celebrating their success somewhere expensive while she struggled to survive. She thought about how they had not just betrayed her, but destroyed her completely for their own gain. "What do I have to do?" she asked quietly. Damian pulled out a thick folder and placed it on the table. "First you disappear. Elena Martinez needs to fade away completely. Then we create someone new. Someone beautiful, successful, and powerful. Someone who will make Marcus Sterling regret every choice he ever made." Elena opened the folder and saw photographs, documents, and detailed plans. Her hands trembled as she read through the pages. This wasn't just revenge. This was complete and total destruction of everything the Sterling family had built. "How long will this take?" she asked. 6 months to a year for preparation," Damian replied. "Then another year or 2 to execute the plan fully. Revenge isn't a sprint, Elena. It's a marathon. But I promise you, if you commit to this, Marcus Sterling will lose everything, just like he made you lose everything." Elena closed the folder and looked Damian directly in the eyes. She saw the same pain and anger that burned in her own heart. 2 broken people united by a desire for justice or maybe vengeance. At this point, she wasn't sure there was a difference. "When do we start?" she asked. Damian smiled, and it was the smile of a predator who had just found the perfect hunting partner. "Right now. Welcome to your new life, Elena. Or should I say, welcome to your rebirth." As Elena walked out of that coffee shop with Damian Cross, leaving behind her empty cup and her old life, she made herself a promise. Marcus Sterling and Victoria had taken everything from her. Now she would take everything from them. And she wouldn't stop until they were as broken as they had left her. The old Elena Martinez had died in that penthouse suite 3 months ago. What was rising from those ashes was something new, something dangerous, something that would make them all regret the day they decided to destroy her. The game was about to begin, and this time Elena would be the one making the rules. The transformation. 6 months had passed since that rainy afternoon in the coffee shop, and Elena Martinez had ceased to exist. In her place stood Elena Valdez, a mysterious businesswoman with a background in international architecture and investment. Her story was perfect because Damien had made sure every detail was untraceable yet believable. According to her new identity, she had spent the last 5 years working for exclusive clients in Dubai and Singapore, which explained why no one in the local industry knew her. Elena stood in front of the mirror in her new penthouse apartment, barely recognizing herself. Her once shoulder-length brown hair was now long, flowing past her shoulders in rich chocolate waves with subtle honey highlights that caught the light. She had lost the stress weight that poverty and despair had added to her frame, replacing it with toned muscle from daily training sessions. Her style had transformed from practical and modest to sophisticated and bold. Designer clothes, perfect makeup, and an air of confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was and what she wanted. "You look dangerous," Damien said from the doorway of her apartment, a slight smile on his lips. "Good. That's exactly what we need." Over the past 6 months, Damien had been more than just a benefactor. He had become her mentor, teaching her everything she needed to know about high society, business manipulation, and psychological warfare. He had hired etiquette coaches, business strategists, and even a former intelligence officer who taught her how to read people and control conversations. "I've secured the Phoenix Heights project," Elena said, turning away from the mirror. "The Continental Corporation is having problems with Marcus's designs. Apparently, they're structurally unsound in several key areas." Damien's smile widened. "Of course they are. He stole brilliance but didn't understand the mathematics behind it. Did you submit your counterproposal?" "Under the name Valdez International," Elena confirmed. "I've corrected all the flaws in the original design and added innovative sustainable features that will save them millions in long-term costs. They're reviewing it this week." "And the Sterling family?" Elena's expression hardened. "Richard Sterling's company is in trouble. 3 of their major contracts have fallen through in the past 4 months. I wonder how that happened." "Carefully orchestrated corporate espionage," Damien said with satisfaction. "Nothing illegal. Just strategic information delivered to their competitors at exactly the right time. Sterling Enterprises is bleeding money, and Marcus is desperately trying to save his reputation with new projects." "Good," Elena said coldly. "Let him feel what it's like to watch everything crumble." But even as she spoke those words, something twisted in her chest. A small voice that sounded like the old Elena, the one who had believed in love and loyalty, whispered that this path would change her forever. She pushed the voice away. That Elena had been weak. That Elena had been destroyed. This new version would never be heard again. ## the return. The National Architecture Conference was the biggest event of the year, attended by every major player in the industry. Elena Valdez walked into the grand ballroom of the Riverside Convention Center with her head high and her heart pounding. This was the first time she would see Marcus since that devastating night in the hotel penthouse. "Ms. Valdez, welcome," the event coordinator greeted her warmly. "We're honored to have such a distinguished international architect at our conference. Your work in Dubai has been the talk of the industry." Elena smiled graciously, every inch the successful businesswoman. She was wearing a stunning navy blue dress that was both professional and eye-catching, with her hair pulled back in an elegant updo that showed off diamond earrings Damien had insisted she wear. "The honor is mine," Elena replied in a voice that was subtly different from her old one. She had worked with a vocal coach to add a slight international accent, just enough to seem exotic without being obviously fake. "I'm excited to see what the local architecture scene has been creating." As she moved through the crowd, she felt eyes on her. Men and women both turned to look at this new face, this mysterious woman who seemed to appear from nowhere with an impressive portfolio and unlimited confidence. And then she saw him. Marcus Sterling stood near the bar, talking to a group of businessmen. He looked the same, tall and handsome in an expensive suit, his dark hair perfectly styled. But there were new lines around his eyes, signs of stress that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Victoria stood beside him, her hand possessively on his arm, wearing a dress that was trying too hard to be sophisticated. Elena's heart raced, but not with the love she once felt. This was the cold, calculated excitement of a predator spotting prey. "Mr. Sterling," one of the businessmen said loudly, gesturing toward Elena. "You must meet Elena Valdez. She's the architect who submitted the revolutionary proposal for the Phoenix Heights project." Marcus turned, and his eyes met Elena's for the first time in 6 months. She watched his face carefully, looking for any sign of recognition. There was none. He saw only a beautiful, successful woman he had never met before. "Ms. Valdez," Marcus said, extending his hand with a charming smile. "I've heard impressive things about your work. Welcome to our city." Elena took his hand, feeling the same fingers that had once held hers with promises of forever, that had betrayed her completely. "Mr. Sterling, your reputation precedes you as well. I understand you're working on the Continental Tower project." "I am," Marcus said, his chest puffing with pride. "It's one of the most ambitious designs in the city's history." "I'm sure," Elena replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Though I heard there were some structural concerns that needed addressing." A flicker of discomfort crossed Marcus's face. "Minor issues. Nothing that can't be resolved." "Of course," Elena said smoothly. "I'm actually quite familiar with that type of design challenge. If you ever need a consultant, I'd be happy to offer my expertise." Victoria had been studying Elena with narrowed eyes. "Have we met before?" she asked suddenly. "You look familiar." Elena's heart skipped a beat, but her face remained perfectly calm. "I don't believe so. I've been out of the country for several years. Perhaps you've seen my work featured in International Architecture Monthly." "Perhaps," Victoria said, but she didn't look convinced. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Marcus becoming increasingly interested in Elena Valdez. He asked about her projects, her background, and her plans in the city. Elena answered every question perfectly, weaving truth and fiction so seamlessly that even she sometimes forgot which was which. #playing the game. Over the next 3 months, Elena executed her plan with surgical precision. Valdez International won the Phoenix Heights project, beating out Sterling Enterprises by presenting a design that was not only more innovative, but also more cost-effective. The Continental Corporation was so impressed that they terminated their contract with Marcus and hired Elena to redesign the Continental Tower project completely. Each victory was sweet, but Elena was careful never to move too fast. She attended every industry event, slowly building a reputation as the rising star of architecture, while Marcus's star began to fall. Sterling Enterprises lost contract after contract, always to mysterious competitors who seemed to know exactly what to bid and when. Marcus, meanwhile, became increasingly interested in Elena Valdez. He started appearing at events where he knew she would be, always finding excuses to talk to her. Victoria watched with growing jealousy, her possessive nature coming to the surface. "He's attracted to you," Damien observed one evening as they reviewed their progress. "That could be useful." Elena felt sick at the thought. "I don't want him attracted to me. I want him destroyed." "Sometimes the best destruction comes from the inside," Damien replied. "If Marcus falls for you, he'll lower his guard. You'll have access to everything. His business, his secrets, his family. Trust me, Elena, the closer you get to your enemy, the easier it is to strike the killing blow." Elena knew Damien was right, but the thought of getting close to Marcus again, even as a different person, made her skin crawl. Still, she was committed to this path. She had given up everything for revenge. She couldn't stop now. The opportunity came at a charity gala hosted by the Sterling family. Elena received an invitation, which was carefully orchestrated by Damien, who had connections everywhere. She wore a stunning red dress that turned every head in the room, and when Marcus saw her, his expression changed to something Elena knew too well, desire mixed with admiration. "Elena," he said, approaching her immediately, "you look absolutely breathtaking." "Thank you, Marcus," she replied, allowing a hint of warmth into her voice. "This is quite an event. Your family must be very proud." "My mother organized it," Marcus said. gesturing toward an elegant older woman across the room. She's very involved in charity work. Would you like to meet her? Meeting Catherine Sterling was a calculated risk, but Elena agreed. Marcus's mother was a sharp woman with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. She studied Elena carefully as they shook hands. Ms. Valdez, Catherine said, Marcus has mentioned you several times. He says you're quite talented. He's very kind, Elena replied, though I'm simply doing what I love. Architecture has always been my passion. Catherine's eyes narrowed slightly. Marcus tells me you've spent years working abroad. Yet your knowledge of local building codes and city planning is remarkably thorough for someone so new to the area. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Catherine Sterling was more perceptive than she had expected. I'm a quick study, Mrs. Sterling, and I believe in thorough research before starting any project. I'm sure, Catherine said, her tone neutral but her eyes suspicious. Well, I hope you enjoy the gala. My son seems quite taken with you. As the evening progressed, Marcus stayed close to Elena, much to Victoria's obvious anger. The blonde woman watched them from across the room. Her champagne glass gripped so tightly Elena wondered if it might break. Would you like to dance? Marcus asked suddenly, extending his hand. Elena hesitated for only a moment before accepting. As they moved to the dance floor and Marcus's arms wrapped around her, she felt a confusing mix of emotions. Part of her remembered dancing with him years ago, when she thought they were in love. Another part of her felt satisfaction at how easily she was manipulating him. But a small part, one she tried hard to ignore, felt something else. Sadness, maybe, or regret for what could have been if he had been different. I have a confession, Marcus said softly as they swayed to the music. I can't stop thinking about you. Elena looked up at him, studying his face. He seemed sincere, but she knew better than anyone how good he was at pretending. We barely know each other, Marcus. I know, he said. But I feel like I've known you much longer. Like we're connected somehow. The irony was almost too much. He had no idea how connected they truly were. How this woman in his arms was the ghost of someone he had destroyed. Perhaps we can get to know each other better, Elena said carefully. I'm always interested in connecting with other professionals in the industry. I'd like that, Marcus replied, his smile genuine. Though I have to warn you, my girlfriend might not approve. Victoria? Elena asked innocently. I've noticed she seems quite protective of you. She has nothing to worry about, Marcus said, but his eyes told a different story. He was already emotionally pulling away from Victoria, drawn to this new, exciting woman who seemed so perfect. Elena filed that information away. If Marcus was already losing interest in Victoria, her revenge could be even sweeter than she imagined. ## the emotional conflict. As weeks turned into months, Elena found herself in an increasingly complicated situation. Her plan was working perfectly. Marcus was falling for Elena Valdez. His company was struggling, and Victoria was becoming paranoid and unstable. But something unexpected was happening too. Elena was changing. The more time she spent as Elena Valdez, the more she realized she enjoyed the confidence and strength of her new identity. She no longer felt like a victim. She felt powerful, in control, and successful. Her architecture firm was thriving with real clients and real projects, not just fronts for revenge. She was making genuine connections with people in the industry who respected her work. And then there was Damien. You're getting distracted, he said one evening in her apartment. They had been reviewing plans for the next phase of their revenge, but Elena's mind kept wandering. I'm not distracted, she protested. I'm just thinking about the bigger picture. The bigger picture is destroying the Sterling family, Damien reminded her sharply. That hasn't changed. But what comes after? Elena asked. After we ruin them, after we take everything they have, what then? Do we just move on to the next revenge? Is that all we are now, Damien? People who destroy others. Damien's expression darkened. They deserve to be destroyed. Marcus ruined your life. His father drove my father to suicide. These people are not innocent. I know, Elena said quietly. But neither are we anymore. The conversation was interrupted by Elena's phone buzzing. It was a text from Marcus. Can we meet? Need to talk to you about something important. Elena showed the message to Damien, who smiled coldly. Perfect. He's probably going to confess his feelings. This is the moment we've been building toward. But when Elena met Marcus at a quiet restaurant the next evening, what he said shocked her completely. I'm in love with you, Marcus began, his voice earnest. I know it's sudden, and I know it's complicated because I'm still technically with Victoria, but I can't deny my feelings anymore. There's something about you, Elena, that makes me want to be better. You make me want to be honest. Elena felt her carefully constructed world tilting. Marcus, you don't even really know me. Then let me get to know you, he insisted. I'll break up with Victoria. I'll do whatever it takes. I just know that when I'm with you, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. I feel like I could be the man I always wanted to be, instead of the man my father expects me to be. And then he said something that made Elena's blood run cold. Victoria and I did something terrible to someone once, Marcus continued, his voice heavy with guilt. Someone who didn't deserve it. I've carried that guilt for months now, and being with you makes me want to make things right. You make me want to be someone worthy of your respect. Elena's heart pounded. What did you do? Marcus looked away, shame written across his face. I can't talk about the details. It's too painful. But I want you to know that I'm not that person anymore. Being with you has shown me that there's a better way to live, a more honest way. As Elena sat across from Marcus, listening to him pour out his heart, she realized something terrifying. Either he was the best liar she had ever met, or he was actually experiencing genuine guilt and change. And she had no idea which one was true. That night she called Damien. We need to talk about the plan. What about it? I think Marcus might actually be changing, Elena said. I think he might actually feel guilty about what he did to me. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Damien's voice came back, colder than she had ever heard it. It doesn't matter if he feels guilty, Elena. Guilt doesn't undo what he did. It doesn't give you back the life he stole. Don't lose sight of why we're doing this. But as Elena hung up the phone, she realized she was already losing sight of it. The lines between Elena Martinez and Elena Valdez were blurring. The woman who had been destroyed was mixing with the woman who had been reborn. And the worst part was she didn't know which version of herself was the real one anymore. Marcus had proposed to Elena Valdez a week ago, in front of the entire architecture community at a prestigious awards ceremony, where she had won the Designer of the Year award. The same award Marcus had won the previous year using her stolen designs. Victoria's face in the crowd had been a picture of devastation and rage. She had screamed at Marcus in the parking lot, accusing him of betraying her just like he had betrayed that pathetic Elena Martinez. The irony had been almost too much for Elena to bear. Now, as Elena prepared for the truth to come out, she wondered if she had won or if everyone involved had simply lost in different ways. Revenge had seemed so simple 6 months ago. Now it felt like a tangled web that had caught everyone, including herself. The charity gala was the perfect stage for the final act. All of high society would be there, watching and judging. It was time for Elena to reveal her true identity and watch everything burn. But as she looked at herself in the mirror one last time, Elena Valdez staring back at her instead of Elena Martinez, she wasn't sure if she was ready for the person she would become after tonight.